Matt, when you kind of wound into a conclusion today, you really wanted to stress a very high value for you, and that was trying to create the possibility, nurture the possibility, pray for the possibility that the leadership of the music would migrate to the kids themselves and they would own it. Tell us why you think that's most important, and how can the youth minister nudge that along?
Yeah. So I think this is the most important thing. Now it's not possible to do if you haven't already done the first things, right? Youth need to have some kind of encounter themselves and be invited into a space that somebody else has helped create before they can then learn how to create those spaces themselves. So there's an issue of staging here. But as early as you can, as early as is possible, I think getting youth involved in helping create those spaces, it's the difference between giving a man a fish and teaching a man to fish. It's just such an important resource to be able to go into this space where you can have this encounter with God. Boy, to be able to equip someone to be able to do that in their own personal life, to be able to do that for other communities that they're a part of. Hopefully this is where we're at with everything in our youth ministry. We want to set them on a path where they're able to kind of provide what they were getting out of youth group when they leave youth group, when they go off to college or off to whatever's next. We want them to be able to be contributing members of communities that are able to provide the sorts of things that create the kinds of communities that the youth group has been for them. I think that the simple way is just begin with having it's just kind of your basic leadership development principle. I do it, you watch. We do it together. I lead, you watch. You lead, I watch. Eventually, I'm just observing you doing it. That's the basic idea here. In a small group I was leading early on when we were planting our church, I just one day conveniently forgot to. I first started inviting a friend who was new to the group to bring his guitar to play with me when we had worship at the beginning of our small group meeting. And then I asked him to help start picking out a song or two. And then one week I conveniently forgot to bring my guitar, and he was on the spot to do this. This is, I think, basically what the basic strategy is, right? It's just say, watch me do it, let's do it together. Eventually you can fly on your own. And that should happen within the youth group. But I think it's also important when possible, and obviously youth minister isn't the only stakeholder here, but when possible, I think it's also great for the youth to lead worship for the larger congregation. And when we were in youth ministry, we had a youth band that would lead worship regularly for a couple times a year for the larger congregation, and it was such an important experience. The kids took it so seriously. Honestly, they took it more seriously than I was a regular worship leader leading all those other weeks. They took it more seriously than the adults did, in part because of the routine. So it was great for them, and it was a great opportunity for the congregation as a whole to see the faith that had been born in these kids kind of reflected back to them. That moment of saying, I once believed only because of what I had heard from you, but now I've seen for myself, and I truly know that this is who God is. This is who Jesus is in my life. So powerful. And then you see them go on from there, and in part because of my role in campus ministry and planting a church in a college town, get to see the other side of this, which is you see these students who come out of strong youth ministries, come into their college years, and when they hit a hard time in their life, this ability to encounter God through song becomes a real resource to them. I was with a group of students who were mourning the loss of a Yale student who had taken his life, and I mean that's a moment where there are no words, right? It is about questions rather than answers, and you're going to need a space, right, to have an encounter of a certain sort. It's going to go beyond the reasons why that you could articulate. And these students, just without any prompting from me, I got a text message that said, hey, meet us at the Catholic Prayer Chapel. We're going to be in there. And they had this group of 30, 40 students. At least half of them weren't Christian, but they were all in this space. And there was music happening, and there was people journaling, people just lying on the floor, plenty of weeping, people praying for one another. And they were able to create this space that was more than they could articulate. But what was amazing to see was that they just kind of did it so instinctively. They had been trained. They had been raised up. It had become part of who they were. And when they were faced with something unexpected in life, no one sat them down and said, look, you're going to have some hard times. Maybe even someone in your life is going to, commit suicide. And at that moment, you might, no. But when they encountered something and they didn't know what to do, they said, let's take it before the Lord. And this is a way that we can do that. We can bring our music. We can be together in the space that's created when we are together in song.